Well, hello and welcome to Bingewatch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwen, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines, not to mention whatsawatch.com. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 7th of March 2025, including crime drama Get Millie Black on Channel 4 streaming, and ITVX period true crime drama A Cruel Love, the Ruth Ellis story about the last woman to be executed in the UK.
And we'll also be checking out Martin Compston in creepy thriller Fear on Prime and Miss Scarlet flying solo on You. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
The propulsive ITVX thriller Red Eye is filming again, with Ying Lucy reprising her role as DS Hannah Lee alongside Leslie Sharp, and look out for him this week, Martin Compston. What else is in the news?
And the second season of the highly anticipated The Walking Dead, Dead City, will premiere in June on Sky and streaming service Now.
Well, if you like crime drama, you're in luck because there's a lot of it in this week's pod. We're going to start on Prime Video with a new thriller which arrived on Tuesday the 4th of March. It's called Fear. Ugh. And here's a clip.
Welcome to Glasgow, kids.
Wow!
Do you like it?
Yeah? Do we have the whole thing?
Not the whole thing. We don't have the basement. I'll just get inside.
I'm from downstairs. Lentil soup.
Thank you.
Bye.
Here's to good neighbours. See you soon.
I like watching you. What?
Yes, it's the old case of the creepy neighbour, Hannah, isn't it? So this one stars Line of Duty's Martin Compston, but he's able to do his normal Scottish accent because it's set in Glasgow. He plays an architect. Why are they always architects, you ask yourself? He's Martin, and his wife is Rebecca, played by Angie Mohindra from the Lazarus Project. And they moved from London to this gorgeous house in Glasgow. Very, very nice, with their two young kids. But of course, as the old story goes, the dream home turns into a nightmare. So there's one other flat in the building, and it's a palatial, beautiful old building. In the basement, you have Jan, played by Solly MacLeod, who he doesn't look like your typical creepy neighbour from a thriller or a horror. He looks quite normal. His flat looks, pretty comfortable and nice. He gives them a welcome present and a card. But of course, before too long, he starts crossing certain red lines. And I won't give too much away because, he employs some interesting tactics to terrorise the family upstairs. But there's more to it than meets the eye. Meanwhile, I found particularly interesting Martin Compston's character, Martin. His family background is quite intriguing. So there's a rather awkward visit to his mum and dad, which goes horribly wrong. And then there's also some sort of question marks over his work life as well. He sort of starts covering things up and then not telling his wife what's really happening. So I've watched episode 1. It's good. I liked it. It's a classic trope, isn't it? But I think it's really well done. It's interesting. And set in Glasgow, where my old man is from, of course. Hannah, is that one for you, do you think? Too scary?
Do you know what? It is pretty horrible and it's pretty scary. And I think it's also because, like you say, you don't want to give away too much. But basically, the accusations made and the horrors that go on, I suppose realistically anyone could do against anybody, and that's what's so scary. And the fact the authorities don't really want to do much about it at all is even scarier. So it is frightening. I think Fear is the right title for it. I think I saw the first episode, keen to watch more of it, and it's just an absolute nightmare for a family who thought that they were setting up a life of happiness in their dream family home. So it's an edge of your seat one, isn't it, really?
Good stuff. Well, from chilly Glasgow to sun-kissed Jamaica, yes, with a new crime drama which arrived on Wednesday the 5th of March on Channel 4 streaming. It's called Get Millie Black. And here's a clip.
This is just another story about Jamaica. It won't add up. It won't make sense. But like every story about this country, there's a ghost story.
Then police come, ring the alarm, ring the alarm, ring the alarm.
You managed to get out of here? Why you come back?
You're looking for a boy. You expect to find this one alive, detective?
Yes, so as you say, this is certainly not the coal streets of Glasgow. This is really rather hot where this one is set. And I've watched the first episode of this, and I'm really keen. It's a 5-parter. I'm really keen to watch the rest. That tells you that it spiked my interest. It's gritty, is probably what I would say. Very, very gritty. It was created by the Booker Prize-winning novelist Marlon James, and it's about. It keeps talking about ghosts. When it takes a little while to get into it, because at the beginning they sort of talk, about ghosts. They still haunt you, alive or they're dead, and the scene that you see immediately is upsetting. It's immediately offensive and assaults the senses, and had me feeling quite sort of upset. The language is pretty ripe in places. It's very not in a sense that being sweary for the sake of being sweary. It feels right, I should say, but it's got that sort of gritty feel to it. And this is a quite a it follows a detective, and she lived in Jamaica. She was taken to the UK to live with family by her awful mother. Well, mother didn't take her; she sent her off and left her brother behind. And she thought her brother was dead. And this is what she's saying about ghosts, whether they're living or dead, they're there to haunt you. And she goes back to Jamaica some years later when she's a detective, and you see her get involved in a crime, trying to see who done it, basically. And it's a little bit too close, because it reminds her of her own situation. So at what point does she cross the line of this being something that is important to her versus what she needs to do as... I really enjoyed what I've seen so far. So I think it's really gritty. It's not something you can get on and do something else at the same time. You really need to watch. So, it turns out that her brother isn't dead. He's alive and actually is living as a woman. And so it kind of, they brought in the kind of another community of people. I think they've done that really incredibly well, actually. And I think that it will be well received on that front, because it's a sort of tricky subject, particularly in Jamaica where crime is high, the poverty is high. It feels very raw. It feels very real, incredibly credible, and incredibly sad in so many ways, and an amazement that this woman, who, after everything she's been through, if you like, has come out as strong as she has. So I really enjoyed it. Ian?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. You can tell it's written by a Booker Prize-winning novelist, because the narration is quite poetic and really well done. Tanara Lawrance plays Millie Jean, and there is a bit of a common thread in this week's podcast, because childhood trauma is a bit of a theme without giving too much away. You've got China McQueen playing Hibiscus, and you're kind of seeing the underbelly of Jamaica as well as sort of the rich people who live there. And we also have Joe Dempsey playing a Scotland Yard inspector who turns up with his own agenda. Over on ITVX, we have a true crime drama which arrived on Wednesday the 5th. It's called A Cruel Love, the Ruth Ellis story, and here is a clip.
I chose to do what I did. I don't regret it.
If I'm to defend you, I need you to be honest with me.
A man who swore he loved me one day. We're getting married. He'll never introduce you to his mother, and then beat and abused me the next.
You were charged with the murder of David Blakely. How do you plead?
I will make him see who and what you are.
So I think it's a story that most people are familiar with, and it has been dramatised before. But Ruth Ellis was the last woman to be hanged in 1955. She was found guilty of murdering her lover, David Blakely. So Lucy Boynton plays Ruth, with her very distinctive peroxide blonde hairdo. She was a nightclub manager, and she falls for this guy David, who's a sort of bit of a playboy and a racing driver, and he's also quite violent. Meanwhile, Mark Stanley, who's cropping up in a lot of stuff, he was in Happy Value, he's one of her customers who could offer her a good life, but she's sort of drawn to the exciting, dangerous guy, and of course it all goes horribly wrong. And you've got Toby Jones from Mr. Bates versus the Post Office and lots of other things, and he is always superb, and he's great in this. He plays her solicitor John, and initially Ruth says, no, she says immediately to the police, I'm guilty, and she signs a confession, and she says, I'm going to plead guilty at the trial, I deserve to be punished, so I did it. But he learns about the violence, the domestic violence, and he tries to persuade her not to go down that road. So from what I've seen, I've only seen episode 1, it's one of those things that we do really well, a period piece. Hair, costume, makeup look great. It's got a strong cast. I think it's a good retelling of a familiar story. What did you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But also just, kind of brings up the whole death sentence and everything that goes with that, and just how, we all have lost somebody that there's no going back, is there? And re-looking at those cases and what people go through in the run-up to that. Really interesting.
Oh, my goodness. It's yet another crime drama. In this case, a period one. Well, it's a familiar sounding one. It used to be called Miss Scarlet and the Duke, but it is returning as Miss Scarlet. It arrived on Wednesday the 5th, available on You and Alibi, Sky box sets, Now and Virgin TV box sets.
He's not coming back. Inspector Wellington won't be returning from New York.
Smart money is on a detective inspector from Bristol, Alexander Blake.
Inspector Blake, I presume?
Miss
Scarlet.
Please shut the door on the way out. He doesn't use private detectives.
Yeah, I think everybody thought or was a bit worried that this wasn't going to return because, of course, Stuart Martin quit the role of William, the Duke of Wellington, and I don't think anyone thought it would return. And, of course, it was popular. But, she's back. Miss Eliza Scarlet is back with Kate Phillips playing the private detective. And I don't know if you were a fan, Ian, originally of this series. And I actually went back a bit and watched some of the original one to sort of remember what all the hype was kind of about previously. But this is 6 parts. And this is Eliza kind of moving on, if you like. You're seeing a new relationship. Is it going to be a dog's about to squeal? Is it going to be a big relationship? Is this because it's a professional relationship as well, so is there going to be a romance there too? So that's kind of you're kind of waiting and wondering on that front. She takes the main position now, and I think it works really well because I think before it was very much about him, and I don't know, it's nice to see a woman in the lead, isn't it? Nice to see a girl up front, and I think it's got some really sort of fun parts, I should say, to it. I've seen the first episode of this. Some fun parts to this, and I don't think people will feel disappointed at all. I think it's been brought back in a way that will pique the interest of the people that liked it before, but won't let them down because somebody's not there anymore, if that makes sense.
I'm a fan. Went on set years ago when this was made in Ireland, and I'm pleased that it's continuing, even though Stuart Martin has left. And I guess the door is open. His character's gone off to New York for a job opportunity. I guess the door's open for him possibly to come back, or who knows, for her to go to New York and join him. And we've got Tom Durrance Pritchard from the Windsors joining as the new Scotland Yard detective inspector, Alexander Blake, who famously doesn't use private detectives. So, first up, Eliza's got to persuade him of how useful she can be when they're investigating the case of a missing lord. So, I'm pleased to see it's back, and I think it still works, even with a slight change of personnel. Now, we've got to that time, Hannah, where we find out what you've been binge-watching this week, so tell us all.
Well, I've been catching up on some of the Dragon's Den. I've really enjoyed it. We've had some surprise appearances, as we know, we've already discussed. But yeah, really enjoying that. And also The Great Pottery Throwdown, which I love. How about you?
Well, I watched a film all about Pauline Black, the lead singer of The Selector, because I'm interviewing her tomorrow and I'm very excited. Now, we just got time to look ahead to next week's offering, so what's on the Binge Watch menu, Hannah?
Well, a 13-year-old is accused of murder in Stephen Graham's crime drama Adolescence on Netflix.
Which is very good, I might add. And two friends pose as DEA agents to rob drug dealers, it's the old story, in the Apple TV thriller Dope Thief. So, we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, listeners, keep